Okay, this video will show you steps how to create this connecting rod. I do have an instruction sheet for you posted, and also I have this completed model with the orthographic detail views, and you are using these information, which also is given on your textbook with the isometric view of this, which this is the solution that I'm giving you here already. So on the textbook that you have all these dimensions shown on the isometric view. They're asking you to create a detailed drawing after you create the model, which you're creating the detailed drawing. I have given you the solutions. This is the final finished product, documentation, dimensionings. So deciding which plane to use first, depending on which is your base plane. In this case, we will begin with the front view and make it, of course, simple, not as complicated as this. So let's begin our Inventor with English unit, standard part. Because I'm going to create the front view, I will begin with XY. I'm selecting the circle tool, connect to the origin, add dimensions. Draw a line, connect it to the center, and continue horizontal line. Press escape to end, and select the line, make it a center line. Add dimensions, 6.5. Continue drawing another line. From end of the center line to upward direction, and a short line to the left. Add dimensions between this horizontal line and the center line. To be your total height in this case is given 2.5. This short horizontal line also is 0.75. Draw another horizontal line approximately from somewhere inside that circle, and then make it horizontal line. Just approximate distance. We don't have any exact distance for this line, but we do know there's an arc, which you can select the center point arc. Pick a free point for this arc. Any place that is not projected from any point is free, is not locked in any specific location. And then snap to end of that line, the horizontal line, and our last line, last point, we are not sure where it's going to be until we add other informations. We know that arc is tangent to this line. It's not connected to any point. We don't know exactly where, but we know it's tangent. And also by adding this dimension that I have here, which is given between the center line and this horizontal line. And we trim the extra pieces. Just make sure zoom in the cut extra pieces. We do have another extra piece here. By adding the given radius, we should expect this fully constrained. That's 2 inches for the radius of the arc. So once we are, our sketch is fully constrained, use mirror tool to duplicate this in other portion. by selecting all the items that you want to mirror. So we have these 4 items. Select Mirror Line tab and select the center line, apply. Finish sketch, extrude by selecting all 3 pieces as a profile, and make sure you extrude both directions. This is important to have both directions. And the size for this piece would be 0.5. Select the same plane that you started from. It's important not to start from any face at this time. Go to expand the origin, plus sign next to origin, and select your XY plane. Right click, select new sketch. Draw same size circle in the same location, connecting the origin, and snap into this corner to make it exactly the same size. And try to not to add any dimension and constraint without any dimension. This way, design intent would be that in future changes would automatically would update. So I will back to continue drawing another circle on the right side, approaching the same way by selecting the midpoint of this line and snap into the end of that corner point there, and then use project geometry, create another line from that edge. So edge is projected and created that line for us. We can trim, and now we have inside there is something that is not visible because we do have this shading. We can switch back to view, change the visual style to wireframe. As you see, we have this arc, which closed arc, of course, with this line, and we have another circle. Let's do another extrude. After you finish the sketch, extrude both features in both directions again, this time with the larger dimension, which is 1 inch in this case. As you notice that we do have now the main piece is created here. Let's switch back to our visual style to shaded with edges. Shaded with edges option. Right face selected as a new work plane. We can begin with creating a small rectangle on top here and add given sizes, which is 0.25 for the height, and the width would be 0.5. To make this rectangle to be symmetrical from this origin here, we can go to add, because I'm parallel to the y-axis, still I can use the vertical. Select that point, little yellow dot that you see there, and the midpoint of this line. Now as both sides are equal, and add another arc, which is our arc center point. Midpoint of this upper portion of this line would be center, and select snap to the one end to be defining the radius. Other end, an arc is created, and the size should be equal to 0.5. Should not need any extra dimension because I snap to the both end. What needs right now, this one to move to this edge. To do that, we just go ahead, view in the isometric, and create another project geometry from this corner, this edge, And then use the collinear, select the base of this sketch to move to this construction line. Now this is fully constrained. Finish the sketch. Extrude. Make sure that there are two pieces again. Select those and change the direction. And the size, extrude height would be 0.5. At this time, you may want to add a small hole on this face. And the size of that should be defined as a 0.25. As you may see some different number on your case, make sure change 0.25. And also don't forget to add concentric relation. Concentric relations. And make sure through all is selected on the option to how far to go. To avoid repeating the same thing on the bottom, we will use mirror tool in 3D mirror. Selecting the feature, you can select from here, but always safe to go to the browser and select the hole and extrude, the last extrude that you did, both of them, there are two features here. And then select the mirror plane, tab mirror plane, and define the plane that you want to extrude. You want to mirror around that plane. In this case would be XZ plane. XZ plane. Select XZ plane from the browser. And you will notice the preview is correct and then apply. We select this front face as a new work plane. Draw a circle, selecting the midpoint, and this circle should be a little bit smaller than the previous one. It's 2 inches, I believe. That's what it's supposed to be. Check the dimensions with your handout sheet. That should be 2 inches. For some reason, this did not connect exactly to the point that I intended. So what we can do, go to coincident, select the center, and make sure that's when I started with the circle, I did not quite pick that midpoint. That wasn't constrained. Now it's fully constrained. And this time you don't have to trim this one because we're going to remove the material. So leave him full circle and then extrude all. Cut. Using the extrude cut option through all. Okay, so that removes that material. Now we have created the right portion of this connecting rod. And now on the left, we do have another item to create. You can use the hole feature again, or you can draw the circle and cut. Let's do that with the circle. And another thing, I just want to double check that I have the thickness here for you correctly. Going back to the handout sheet, and notice that this is 0.5, which is correct. And also we have these two pieces that it's, well, it's not going through all the way. This is a depth symbol. This one you see depth 0.125 and on both sides. So this little piece that will be created, removing the material here on both sides. As you can see from the top view that we have in both sides, the hidden features that shows that. Okay, so those are the things we have to create. Let's begin with creating this one first. I'm going to use the circle for this one, since you can use also hole. Either way, it would be fine. This would be the size of that circle. Checking the size of circle is 1 and cut. And extrude cut all the way through. And you can use the hole again here. Let's select this face and create those slot pieces using the slot tool, which you have used this before. Which option of the slot to use? There are few options here. We have one center to center option. Based on the information given to you, probably would be a good option to use because you have this center to center dimensions 3, and this is R is 0.25. So we could use that, and also start from this end 2. So with that information, we can use slot center to center. Pick any point and create that slot. You can start adding the dimensions. Radius is 0.25. And location of the first center on the right arc, center to center of this piece is 2. So let me add that dimension, see if I can. Dimension between the center to center, or from the end of this edge to the center is 2. That location defines the location. And now it's from this center, which, as I notice, I'm picking this arc to arc, picks the center for me, and that was 3 units. With this information, let me double check, make sure I have all the information. We have this one is 0.25 radius. Actually, I believe 0.25 radius, and I have 0.125 is the 1/8 of an inch is the depth, and this is 3 and this is 2. Looks fine. Let's go to check. This one is 0.25 radius. We have 3 and that. So Y is not fully constrained, still one dimension needed. And most likely is the relations, the horizontal relation. This is still free to rotate. Because we haven't constrained on the Y directions. For that, you can use the horizontal and make sure this construction line in the middle is horizontal perfectly. And that is perfectly horizontal. So what that could be. All right, so let's figure out one more item here. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, still free to move. Okay, they are horizontal between each other, but they are not in relation to the origin. Okay, that was the case. You see that it's moving. So let's go to horizontal between origin or center of this. You could have picked either way to, let's pick any of the center. So that would be locked in that position, fully constrained. So this time we're going to extrude this with depth is given 0.125. Again, that was information that is given on this note. 2x, by the way, this is the type of the dimensions that you're going to learn on this module to how to add notes precisely for machining operation. This is the proper way to dimension this. 2x means 2 places, both sides. R, designation for radius, 0.25, both sides. And this symbol that you see here is the depth symbol. These are the new standards. Rather than indicating with the word depth, we just place them with the symbols, 0.125. Let's continue on this extrude. We're going to extrude, use, this time we have to define exactly 0.125 depth and change the directions to go opposite direction and cut. Make sure you select it. All right, so you can repeat this step on the other end by rotating to the other end, or use the mirror tool. That's the more convenient to do. Take advantage of this mirror tool. Back to the 3D model and select our mirror tool to complete that assignment. Okay, let's just go back to the 3D model and do the we're going to do the so everything else done except we are going to do mirror to complete this. Also, we have one more item to do. Here is the fillet. I can do that fillet also in both sides. We have to be doing the fillets. I didn't start with the arc in the beginning because it saves time getting on. Okay, let's do the mirror part first, and we can come back to finish the fillets. Okay. Mirror, I'm going to select this slot from the browser, which is the last extrude I have here. It's the best to rename those, of course. And then I'm going to select the mirror plane. In this case, the plane that I'm going to select this time is going to be parallel to screen, which is XY plane. XY plane. And that is, now we should see that is created on the other side as well, as you notice here. Back to the home view and finish with this fillet is the last item we're going to add here is the fillet. Before we add the material and other specification is indicated on your posted material. Let's do the fillet first. Okay, that is according to information is given to you, this 0.5 for radius, and then pick the common edge in this case, and then rotate back to select that edge at the same time, apply. Okay, I believe that's the only fillet you need at this point. I'm sure that completes your assignment. Next step is to add the material according to information given and add the annotations.